Hey, good evening, everybody. This is Eric Marsh here for MBKCares. Welcome to our Wellness Wednesday event. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the conversation of finance, how to manage your finances during the COVID crisis. What are some ways that you can possibly use that stimulus check? For those of you who may be struggling, maybe haven't gotten unemployment, we'll be talking about ways to manage through this crisis. For those of you who might be in a more comfortable situation, what are some things that you can do to kind of secure your financial freedom, secure the bag moving forward once we get out of this crisis? So joining me tonight is my co-host, Kirsten Britt. She's also going to be one of the guests because Kirsten is going to be able to share some of her resources and experience around this issue. So Kirsten, introduce yourself. Welcome to Wellness Wednesdays.
Thank you, Eric. Like you said, I am Kirsten Britt. I am the CEO of Inspire Me to Change. I recently launched a new business called Girl Genius, and our focus is to help women of color create and scale businesses to at least $1 million in net worth. So that's our goal for Girl Genius. I'm really excited about that whole new platform, and yeah, I'm excited to be on tonight.
Excellent. So, Cody, our next guest is Cody Nixon. Cody, introduce yourself and tell us what brings you here. What's your background?
Hi, everybody. Cody Nixon. I just started. Actually, just in the primary stages of starting this new company called Reboot Construction Services. And its primary purpose is to get more minorities into the building trade, into the union building trade. We offer an 8-week program where we teach everything from math, blueprint reading, some financial literacy, personal development, and so on, to our members to get them up to speed so they could take the, get prepared for the test, getting into the union.
Excellent. All right, and our next guest, our final guest is Camari Ellis. Camari, how you doing, brother?
Good. How you doing, Eric? How you doing, everybody?
Good. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about your background and what you offer us in this world of finance.
Sure. My name is Camari Ellis. Over 20 years experience in financial services by the way of accounting, financial planning, and Wall Street investing. Currently, I am self-employed, founder of the Philly tax team, and basically what I do is help all my clients optimize their assets and reduce their tax liabilities.
Excellent. So part of what brings us here, and I think I introduced this, I'm not sure if our guests on Facebook caught this part, but what we want to do tonight is really talk about how the COVID crisis has really impacted, not globally, because we understand it's going to be a major impact financial for not just cities, but countries around the world because of this crisis at hand. But what are some of the personal ways that you've seen the COVID crisis impact both you and your community? I want to start with Kirsten first. What are some things that you've seen the impact personally and directly around this the COVID crisis on the finances in your community?
I guess so. I am one of the, I don't know if it's a fortunate and not fortunate that I still have to go to work. So for personally, a lot of people that I know are still employed. But what I have been seeing, just community-wise, is the need for services that people wouldn't normally need, right? So when you talk about the city giving away food and this decreased now access to food, that has been on a scale of just watching people you would have never thought that would be in a line waiting for food have a need. And so now this has crossed all kind of economic lines, all colors, all everything. And I think that has been one of the biggest things for me to see. It's just people rolling up in Benzes, but needing food. And I'm not saying that whatever, but actually needing food and needing that extra help because it's a real situation. And I think that it has really brought this idea of living paycheck to paycheck a real reality for people. When your job says you can't come here and you had no idea, no plan, this has become people's reality. So yeah, I've seen it hit hard for some folks.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I just want to echo that sentiment about being blessed and being fortunate to still be able to work from home. You know, that's something that I've been able to do, even though my work requires me to stay in contact with people all across the board struggling. I've heard so many different, you know, just tragic stories and also stories of hope and some positivity too. So my next question is to Cody. Cody, what are some of the things that you've seen? You mentioned your efforts to get people into the building trades and the trades, right? One of the reports that I got recently in talking to the head of the Carpenters Union was that they recently went from over 400, between 300 and 400 active sites around the Delaware Valley in Philadelphia, down to approximately 20 different construction sites. So they're down almost 10% of their sites. What are some of the impacts that you've seen the COVID crisis had?
Yeah, you're actually correct. Okay, so another little background on me. I've been in the Carpenters Union for 17 years. And as far as the impact that this COVID thing is, like the first thing is, okay, every state is different. So PA, they shut everything down except for essential stuff, like let's say hospitals and stuff that has to be open. So construction is still going on in some places that's deemed essential, like hospitals, but that's few and far. So I mean, for the amount of members that's in the Carpenters Union, like in Philadelphia alone, you have over 10,000 members. So you know, it's obviously there's not enough room for everyone. So it was a massive layoffs. For the most part, everyone, like the company EDA, which I work for the union company that I work for is called EDA Contractors, and they're working at 50% capacity, which is like a big amount. There's a lot of companies that's probably going to go under from this right here because they're not big enough to sustain the type of hit. You know, they had to lay off. You know, they have overhead. They have people in offices that, you know, project managers. Is a whole list of people that's affected by it, not just the people that you see out on a job site. So as far as like with the EDA, they're one of the bigger contractors in the area, and they have a lot of work like in Jersey, New York, and the states are different. Like a lot for Jersey for a long time, like a lot of the job sites were still open. Same with New York. PA just shut down all their things other than essential stuff.
Yeah.
But New York and New Jersey were still open for business.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you, like, how is it impacting you directly? I mean, is that your primary source of income? Is that something that you and how does that relate to your other businesses that you're trying to develop?
Well, as far as Reboot is concerned, it put like a total stop on that because you know, because of everything else was shut down. Now it's back to my 9 to 5, which is a carpenter foreman in a union. I elected to. It was some work for some people. I elected to take a layoff. So everyone's laid off. I mean, you don't make exactly what you don't make close to what you would make if you were working. So you can kind of like unemployment, but one of the benefits of having a trade is that you have that. Like people still like I have like a ton of people right now calling me to do work for them, like in this, even though you're not supposed to social distancing. I mean, but in times like that, when you're laid off and you have a skill, that's something that you can, it doesn't matter whether you work for yourself or whatever. You can put doors and windows in, like on the carpentry end or whatever. Like so, and I'm in a position where as though like I'm able to, like my household or whatever, we can operate off of one income if it came down to it. But I mean, it was all optional for me because I was able to do it. But for some people, I mean, unemployment within the union building trades is pretty good right now. So most of the people that's laid off right now from on the construction side, if they're receiving unemployment benefits, they're doing pretty good.
So, all right, that takes me to Camari, right? Because, you mentioned, Philly tax team and the work that you do. in the financial realm. How do you see this crisis impacting you, especially now around this time, because we're in the middle of tax season, or we're at least at the what may be the tail end of it, but definitely in the midst of tax season. What is it looking like for you as a business owner and somebody that and deals with finances on a regular basis? How have you seen this impact?
Stuck in the house, Eric. I can't go nowhere. But no, business is fine. A lot of people were very motivated to get their taxes done this year because they wanted to qualify for that stimulus, $1,200 stimulus plus the additional $500 for each child. So a lot of people have been motivated. For me, it's not that bad. I'm complaining about not being able to get out, but it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could put in like a swimming pool or a track or something. You racking up the dollars right now. So, you know what I mean? My heart bleeds.
With that being said too, I mean, even like within the union trades, like when you talk about class, like you have like not class, but like status, like you have poor people, you have middle class, you have rich. Now construction falls somewhere in the middle class. But like with union contractors or whatever, like not union contractors, but union construction workers, they kind of fall like right above that area where they're not eligible for that stimulus thing. So even though you're still middle class, it's like you're right outside the box of where, like, because a lot of people in construction, they can use that 1,200, but a lot of them aren't going to get it because they make too much.
Wow. So
I got some construction people that got it. I mean, if you're single, it was $75,000 up to about $99,000. If you were married, it was $150,000. Like the cap to get it, you couldn't exceed or make more than $150,000 up to about $199,000. So I had some construction workers that got it. But you're right, because depending upon what your skill is, what your trade is, it varies. Your basic laborer typically isn't going to make the same rate as an electrician or a plumber. So, absolutely, I totally get that one.
Yeah, no, Cody, so one of the things I wanted to share is, and I didn't realize this about you. And so previously was in the Carpenters Union, 1856. So I did about 20 years, had my book for 20 years, did about 10. And I was a business owner for about 10 as well. So when you said that, like, carpenters not qualifying for that, I was thinking I missed out on a whole lot of raises because knowing that cap for an individual was about $75,000. I was doing good, but I wasn't doing 75. So
yeah, every year, they usually get a raise every year, like at least $1. Like since I've been in, it's been at least $1.
Yeah.
A year. And also like if you have like
right.
overtime, a lot of overtime, time and a half, double time, that could jump you up because the economy was booming, right before this. So for the past few years, so a lot of people are in it, and right above that number there, to where they don't qualify.
So you mentioned, how people like yourself, you said, there's an opportunity to maybe take some side jobs on while you're not working on your union site. We're not going to talk about that. It's supposed to be, it's frowned upon. I'll put it that way, right?
Hey, listen, you got to eat how you got to eat. It's your trade.
You got to do what you got to do. So Kirsten, tell me a little bit about, like, what are some ways and some ideas you shared with folks or you've done yourself on ways to manage during this time? I know you said you're working, but I'm sure you encounter quite a few people who maybe aren't. In your experience, what do you see, ways that people might be able to supplement the work that they do, their income during this difficult time?
So it's funny because the conversation that I've heard a lot is like, one side or the other. So people are like, oh my God, like we're in a recession. There's no way to start a business right now. I'm like, but you do realize that there are people making money. And so it's just about adjusting your way of thinking. So I was talking to a client yesterday who has an idea for a business. And of course it wasn't a COVID ready business, but I'm like, this is the opportunity that you have because we're going to be in this state for a while. It will decrease, but we're not leaving this in this moment. And so figuring out how to adjust whatever it is you're already doing to accommodate what we currently have. And there's always a way, right? So I think that this is a perfect for entrepreneurs, particularly new entrepreneurs or innovative entrepreneurs, to just think outside the box. That's my big thing. Always think outside the box. What do people need? They need everything right now because they can't get anything. So it might not be about the dream business that you wanted to create, but what is the need right now? And that's the thing about being an entrepreneur. You attack the need. Okay, there's a need, there's a problem, I'm gonna solve it. And so it's about getting creative. And so for me, I've spent all my money, all of it, on education. I've been taking every possible course, taking advantage of everybody's offering like all these online courses, because self-education is like the new thing. And it's just gonna keep going from here. So people have all these COVID discounts. So I'm on it. They doing all these free webinars. They're doing all these listen, I'm on it. I took everything. I have everything from real estate to investment to
You're a heart surgeon now?
Listen, I probably am. I've taken it all. I promise you. I could do anything. But that's what I've invested my money in, because we won't be on lockdown forever. We're in Philly, we're on our way out of this shutdown. So my thing is, who did I want to become at the end of this? When this was all over, what was I going to be able to do? And I just started thinking of things. So now we have this idea where people, unfortunately, people die every day, right? But this situation that we're in, where you can't even have a funeral service for your loved one, is something that none of us have ever had to experience. Not because I have the money and I can't, I just can't do it. So for me, I was like, all right, well, I'm going to create an opportunity. So now I do virtual funeral planning. So I wanted to create a space where people could have an opportunity to bring closure, because that's a big thing. When we talk about this whole mental health piece, not being able to grieve your loved ones properly is a big issue. And so if you tell me we're not going to be able to have a service until maybe 4 months down the line, maybe, I don't even know when we'll be able to be in that big space again, that means I don't even start the process of grieving until I get that closure. So I said, well, what if we could create this virtual funeral where we can do everything in the same way, but we just do it virtually. And I can plan it all out for you. You don't have to do anything. Bam, here you go. So now this is another service. It's timely. It's going to continue, and it can transition. So now I just plan funerals, but this is now my virtual aspect to address the need. So for me, it was just about, encouraging people to figure out what are those things that people need, what are the conversations people are having, what are the problems that they're having. And this is always with an entrepreneur. How can you solve those problems? Get the education now. People need insurance, become an insurance agent. People need this, become that thing. It doesn't have to be your dream job, your dream business. It is the hustle. This is the hustle. I'm gonna stack now, I'm gonna eat now, and I'm gonna put this toward my dream.
All right. So Camari, I see you rocking in your seat. Look like you chomping in the bit. What are your thoughts around that issue? Because you see all types of entrepreneurs come through the door, and with your length of experience, you've seen some come and you've seen some go. So share some of your thoughts around different opportunities that might have presented itself or might be, readily available now that we're in this brave new world.
I totally agree with Kirsten. It's all about, reshaping your mind to see the opportunities and then execute on those opportunities. A lot of times people get bogged down with saying, I can't do this, I can't do that because I don't have X, Y, and Z. But, the best entrepreneurs or the best businesses aren't necessarily the ones that have the most money. They're the ones that are the most creative and that can execute on that creative idea or vision or plan. So, I've seen all kinds of people. One client of mine is an e-commerce store. His sales have gone up over 400% since COVID. And he caters towards Black women that are athletic. So he makes Black female athletic wear. And they're going through that like crazy because the ladies who are about working out are working out even more now because they have the time to do it.
Mm.
So, you know, he was able to take advantage of that opportunity. I'm sure plenty of us know David Sims, right? The caterer, Eatable Delights. This guy said, well, you know what? I can't cater events, but I can deliver dinners. I can do meals.
School.
And I laugh at that, right? Because I tell people all the time, kind of similar to Kirsten, right? Everybody's got an idea. Everybody's got a dream. If, like, I think I make the best fried chicken in the world, but I'm not in that business.
Right.
But somebody else's grandma probably makes the best fried chicken in the world to them. Y'all can sell that. Again, it doesn't have to be super fancy or anything like that. It just needs to be something that is good enough that somebody else will be spending hard-earned dollars on it.
I think even to your point, Camari, is good enough, and it's also something somebody doesn't want to do.
Yes,
So
the convenience.
you're home now every day. I have to work here. I got to do everything here. I don't have the time. I'm trying to homeschool kids. I just want somebody to deliver food.
Right.
Now, normally, I would cook, you know, but now I just want somebody to bring it here. And
Right.
so now these opportunities and the increase of that is based on the situation. So like for me, I don't wear weave. Well, I have braids in my hair, but I don't wear like weave and stuff like that. But these girls out here going crazy because they can't get access to get their hair.
Right.
You know what I did? I nail sell hair. You know, because
I ain't mad at you.
listen, I don't buy it, but somebody does. It's not about, and I think that people have to remember with being an entrepreneur, it's not about me. It's about the customer. So what is the need of the people? It's not about what I need. I might not like fried chicken. I might not wear weave, but people buy these things. So, you know, getting out of your own head and out of your own way to be able to see the opportunities in front of you.
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, I don't know, Cody, did you have something that you share in regards to that?
Well, I just was gonna say, like, as far as like with you know, people with the trade, with the skill, like how they can, like one of the parts of Reboot is okay, we understand that there's a shortage of minorities in the union trade. Like anytime you see construction sites, it's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of white men. It's white men dominant. Even in the residential areas, you see Mexicans or, you know, a lot of Spanish, not too many African Americans or whatever. So part of Reboot is to you know, to try to turn that stigma around a little bit, get more African Americans into the building trade. Now, with that being said, once you always hear the term now, the popular term, let's buy the block, instead of other people trying to get into real estate. Now, that's an option. That's an avenue that you can get into if you have a trade, and you know, you could buy distressed properties, rent them, flip them, whatever. So like in times like this, you have other income coming in. So one of the main reasons for Reboot, like, I mean, we at some point we will have some type of business, a business leg of it too, like for those that are motivated to getting into the house flipping market, the rental market. By you having that trade, it can help you get into it sooner, because you from your 9 to 5, you make a decent dollar, and for 2, you can do the work yourself.
So bring to that point about doing the work yourself. One of the things that came to mind is I hear a lot of people who are now that quarantined at home or stuck at home, but might still have an income. I just had a buddy of mine mention this the other day about renovating his house. Like now that he's home, you know, people are trying to make their spaces as comfortable as possible or as nice as possible.
Stuck in it.
And because they're stuck in it. So this idea of how do you suggest that some young man or young woman out here who may be interested in getting into the building trades, maybe want to get involved in your program, you know, maybe they got that $1,200, suggest that they start off on that pathway towards being a self-employed contractor, doing those projects?
Well, depending on how deep they want to get into it. I mean, if you want to do like a whole house, like a new buy and stuff like that, it's a whole process that you got to go through, like as far as permits and all that. That's like a whole, like you actually have to become a contractor, get a contractor's license and all that. Like for fixer upper type stuff around the house. I mean, to be honest with you, there's a lot of stuff online now, like YouTube. At some point, we would like to have Reboot have their own YouTube page, like how to change a doorknob, like simple things that people take for granted. Like
I think Kirsten got one of those certificates. Didn't you learn how to hang doors? Like
Don't do that. Don't do
no?
that. Cody taught me how to hang a door. How about that?
Okay.
I watched
but
he did.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
but yeah, like for people that's indoors right now that's trying to do things. I mean, it's really like the worst that can happen is, okay, you maybe mess some material up. Like just don't be, you can't be afraid of it. Another issue they might have is they don't have the proper tools to do it too. Like so some power tools can be dangerous. I wouldn't recommend somebody try to use, a circular saw or a table saw or something like that, and they don't really have, experience with it, because they can, they can get hurt. But at some point, Reboot, when we do open back up, we will have workshops, stuff like that for the community, and just for those type of things. So when these times do come, like whether whether it's someone who went through the program and got into the building trade, or just your average person that's curious about learning certain things, we'll have workshops available for people to come in and learn these type of things.
Okay. So Camari, I have two questions for you, because the first piece is, it relates to what Cody was just talking about you got a lot of people that got, the $1,200, $1,500, $700, $1,700 checks, maybe more. But we got people on different stratas, like different levels of economic stability. What are some suggestions that you would have for folks who maybe are unemployed now but got that check? What are some ways that you would recommend they utilize and look at maybe a budget or some tips on how to use that money if you're in a situation where this is all the money that you have for the immediate future? And then there's a second part to that question.
Okay. I've been telling folks, there's, like you said, there's kind of two different people, right? You got track one, where people who don't have stable income. They might have just got laid off. They might have been furloughed, and all they have now is unemployment. Then you have track two, and I say people that still have stable income that are coming in. But, going back to the track one, I would say don't waste that money. Save it, pay bills with it, buy food with it. Hopefully you can save it and put it up, because we don't know how long we're going to be in this thing called Corona, because leadership out of Washington isn't that great. So, we have to be very conservative, in my opinion, about how we're going about doing all this. Am I coming through okay, Eric?
Yeah, you're coming through fine.
Okay.
You're coming through fine. And so okay, being conservative and saving it. The next level to that question is, okay, let's say you got a little bit of a savings, but you want to maybe take a step in the next direction to either secure your position or maybe stabilize yourself financially. Like, what are some suggestions you would have for people who might want to be on the next level, like taking the next step using that money?
So again, let's go with, that unstable track. They might have unemployment. They have a little bit of savings. So I would say take half of your stimulus money that you have coming in and invest it into some education, like Kirsten was talking about. Or if you're already educated, maybe you look into opportunities to volunteer, right? I always hear people say that they can't do this, they can't do that. Cody was talking about getting into the trades. Years ago, my son went to Orleans Tech to do electrical work. Never did anything with it, but he said he wanted to get into rehabbing. I said, okay, the rehab sites are open. Go volunteer. Go work for free. A lot of people don't like that, but it's one of the best ways to get your foothold in any new space, because people don't realize business is about relationships. But when you approach somebody, they don't know you from me. One way to establish or deepen that relationship is to prove to them that you are of value. So go volunteer, help them out. Everybody needs help, even if it's just to sweep up. And you get to let people know who you are. You get to find out who they are, and then you can go from there. But you know, Eric, I know you don't want to hear about that because that's not sexy. You want to hear about the stocks. You know, can people get to the stocks?
I do want to get in the stocks.
Before you leave that conversation, can I say something to those points?
Absolutely.
Sure.
I think that, you know, Camari, you bring up a great point. For me, what I teach all the time is really about mindset, right? And so the mindset in both of those cases is for us, and this is the not sexy, is to not have a poverty mindset. You know, we cannot come from a place of lack, right? So I'm a believer, and I believe that all has been given to me. So I don't think about what I don't have and try to hold on or spend it all now and get some free money. Like, there's no such thing as free money. And I'm sure Camari will can elaborate. It's nothing free. There's a cost for everything that we're getting. However, being a good steward over what we are getting, the money or the opportunity itself. So the opportunity to go serve and build a relationship, or the money that you get, like, this is all about shifting your mind, you know, shifting the way that you're looking at things and thinking about them, because that's what's going to shift your finances at the end of the day. Like, if you think broke, you're going to stay broke. So, but if you think like somebody who is successful, then you'll see the different kind of things that they did and sacrifice in order to get where they are. You know, I'll be willing to go sweep your steps because I see a bigger picture. It's not like, oh, well, I need money now and you're not giving me no money, so I'm not doing this. No, I'm gonna figure out a different way to get money, but I'm gonna build this relationship with you because I see more money down the line. And so we get very, sometimes very short-sighted. So you give me $1,200, I'm like super hype and excited. Yes, I could go get that thing that I really don't need. And I'm gonna get it right now because I got this money. Like, no, but then what's gonna happen when you don't have this money anymore, but you still have those bills? So, so it's just about a mindset shift. And I think that's one of the things that, you know, I really push and I teach heavy, because if you don't shift your mind, you're gonna be in this position this time next year.
Yeah.
As a man thinketh, so shall he be.
Exactly. One of the reasons why I kind of started off with Cody on this was, you know, when I was asking the question about how can people get started, because, you know, my story is very similar to what you guys, Kirsten and Camari, just described, in that, you know, I was working in the union, was doing pretty well, and something had happened, you know, where it conflicted with my values. And so I decided to start my own business, but I was out of work for a little while, but I did have a little bit of money. And I knew that applying for my LLC and getting a couple of tools that I needed to make sure my truck was in operating condition, were the entry level cost that I needed to pay in order to then start my own business, which I wound up being in for 10 years. So that's kind of one of the things I was, Cody, looking to kind of to touch on with people who are interested in the construction trades or building trades, you know, how to start that entry level thing, not, you know, necessarily fooling around with a whole 4x8 sheet of plywood in their basement with a brand new power saw, but, you know, just some entry level ideas and tips. But also wanted to again, Camari, you know, you mentioned sexy, right? So I got to mention sexy. Again, I've seen some trades and some people talking about different stock trades that they've done recently. Maybe it's with that $1,200 check they got. Maybe it's with some savings that they got. What are some trends that you're seeing? I know we're not going to ask you to, you know, give us no blue chips, but, you know, just what are some trends that you're seeing, and what do you think for those people that want to get into the stock market or getting and investing their money? Maybe they're already entrepreneurs. Maybe they're working with funds and that part is stable. What are some things that you want to suggest to introduce us into, you know, that next level of wealth building that maybe involves stocks?
And even if you don't have a lot of money, what could you start with?
I was going right there, Kirsten. Don't worry, I got you.
Did I say a lot? Did I say a lot? I mean like.
I'm just saying somebody might have spent their stimulus check, but they might have $10. So I just
That's disposable. What do you suggest? Disposable income towards stocks.
So before you get anything right, do your research. There's a lot of people that are selling all kinds of courses for trading and get rich quick schemes. In my opinion, I would say do your research. Right. Know that the stock market is probably the best investment tool ever created, outside of maybe life insurance. Right. But going to Kirsten's point, you only need $1 to invest in the stock market. Matter of fact, Kirsten said $10, right? So let's go with $10. I invested $10 in Amazon back in November. I'm gonna pull up my Cash App. You can do this all on Cash App.
Okay.
Let me see. Give me 2 seconds.
say that again. You said you do it all on Cash App?
Cash App.
Cash App allows for fractional shares.
There you go. Y'all Cash Apping for hair and y'all
Yeah, so Cash App for some real bread.
Yes.
So, all right, so I invested $10 in November, right? Because I've been doing this to show people that you don't need a whole lot of money to invest in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
$10 that I invested in November is now worth $13.68. Now, you might say that's not a lot of money, right? But had you went and spent that $10 at Starbucks or on some sneakers or on a dinner date, it would be gone. However, I chose to take my $10 and invest it in Amazon, and now it's worth $13.68.
And I think that just the dollar amount is fine, but if you think about it in percentage wise, that's a 30% profit.
Yes.
Right? There's nowhere that you're 36% profit.
That's right.
There's nowhere that you're going to get a 36% return on your money. So that's amazing.
And I want to be clear, right?
Mm-hmm.
People do lose money in the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
The stock is not always up, right? I'm never going to be the guy that's going to promote just some fantasy, right? So when the stock market started to dip, at one point my stock was worth $9, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now it came back and it's worth $13.68.
Mm-hmm.
So, I've been buying a lot of stuff, again, using it as illustration. Eric, as long as you know me, I've been talking about the stock market. What many Black folks talking about the stock market like I was over this last 10 years.
Yeah.
And, I find it interesting because out of all the studies that are out there, it shows that Black people tend not to invest in the stock market. And that's one of the key reasons why the Black-white wealth gap is so wide between the two races. So we love real estate, especially where we live.
Well, also,
we want to feel it. We want to smell it.
Yeah.
However, real estate from a where you live at, a personal residence perspective, isn't necessarily going to be the best thing to generate a rate of return or to help you get rich or wealthy. Now, if you have rental property like Cody was talking about, where you're doing flips, that's a different scenario. But that takes work.
Right.
I just pushed a couple buttons. Now, I probably shouldn't undermine it because I did go to college for finance and I've worked on Wall Street and investing. But at the end of the day, the energy that it took me was to push a couple buttons on my smartphone, spend my $10 or invest my $10 rather, and just sit back and let it grow.
Cody, you wanted to add to that?
Multiple streams is the key. I forgot my train of thought of where I was going with that. But you know what? That's what it was. You was speaking on a lot of people that look like us don't touch the stock market, and I think the language is a little intimidating. Like you don't know. One, you look at the screen, you see all these green and red. You don't know what anything means on it, and there's no one around teaching us that stuff. Just recently on so now see another person, but on this podcast I listen to called Earn Your Leisure.
Yeah, they do.
They have a few guys on there that breaks down the stock market and art, and speaks like us. So I think with more promotion and that type of stuff, you would get more people involved.
But I think that goes to Camari's point about doing your research, right? Finding the person that speaks your language, that can break it down, stop not looking for, including this whole mindset idea of thinking that I gotta make all of this money right now. This is something, it's not short-term gain. This, you in this for the long haul to watch the money grow. It can dip, you can afford to do that. And just being open to those kind of things. And he also mentioned like insurance and like life insurance. And that is, that's a wealth changer, for people. But again, people that look like us do not see the value in that in the same way. They see the right now cost. Like, oh, I don't have $25 because you could get some life insurance for $25. I don't have $100 and whatever dollars to put towards this every month, because they don't see a right now value, right? But it's not about the right now, it's about the later, so that we don't have to do GoFundMe funerals, right? And not only do I not have to do a GoFundMe funeral, but I leave behind something outside of my debt, and I set my children up, or I set my family up to not have to struggle. I think when we, in our mentality of things that are said that burn me up, are things like, well, I had to struggle, so they gonna have to struggle too. Like, wow. Like, what is wrong? Like, that thinking and that kind of language is so damaging to us as a people, right? And we just continue to pass it on from generation to generation. For my friends, like Cody and I have known each other since high school. Cody had Reboot, and he's like, he needed something. So I said, all right, I'll help you. I'm not going to watch him struggle with something that I have something that he can use, right? That doesn't make sense. So how much more would I do that, want to do that for my family, my own blood? You talk about children you birth, and create. You don't want to leave them something. You don't.
But you know what? But I'm going to jump in here. I'm going to play devil's advocate for a little bit, right? Because, again, folks in our community, and folks in a lot of communities that are struggling, I don't even want to own that as far as my community, but just people in general who are struggling often, have this survivalist mindset. And so something that has come up before is, this idea of once you're grown, you're on your own. You got to fend for yourself. So what are some of your thoughts around, when you have an 18-year-old, you maybe not going to college, but in the house, I've seen and I've helped a couple of young men and young women over the recent past deal with this issue where family members, they want them out of the house because there's this perception that once you reach a certain age, you need to be out on your own. How do you see that impacting Black wealth and generational wealth?
My point, for me anyway, I'm going to say this real quickly. My point is still the same, right? So it's just our mindset and changing our language, because one, that child wasn't born 18. So the question then becomes, what have you been instilling in them and teaching them from the time they were born till they were 18? How did you set them up and prepare? I think it's very unfair, because yesterday I was 17. So today I'm 18 and now I'm grown, so how did you prepare me to be able to leave at 18? And I think that we have to, look at what we have invested in our children and what have we taught them, and how have we put them in a position to do something different than we did, and really being open to those experiences. Go ahead, Cody.
To piggyback off of what you just said with that, like with the Reboot, okay, the preferable age range would be 18 to 26, like people within that age gap. Now at 18, okay, like you said, yes, some people that, they say once you're 18, you're on your own, but from a personal development standpoint, they're nowhere near that. I mean, you're not taught that. Even if you go to college, there's a lot of things like real life situations, how to get a mortgage, financial literacy, all that type of stuff isn't taught to you in schools or at home a lot of times. So that's what as far as Reboot, like we offer those type of things, personal development. That's where we had Kirsten come in and teach a personal development class. Like, just because it starts with the mindset. You know what I mean? Like, you have to change your mindset to certain things. Now, one thing I would say about with construction, even with the unions and stuff, it's levels to certain stuff. Like, you have some people that just told what to do. They don't want much more. But just like, okay, I look at it like this: if you if you could go into the carpenters union, you become a carpenter. At the end of the day, if you don't try to strive anymore, at the end of the day, you still made out okay. But for those who are a little hungrier, we want to put you in position where you can go from an apprentice to a journeyman to a foreman to a superintendent to an owner. So we want to provide every level of whatever you want to, whatever that person's ambition is.
So developing that process to be able to provide generational wealth for your families. Camari, we got a few minutes left here, but I want to talk a little bit about, first of all, I want everybody to think about resources that you could share with people.
Well, hold on, Eric. I wanted to jump in on that a little bit. I was being polite.
Come on, Camari.
But what Kirsten said, and I believe what you said, Eric, about 18. So I was fortunate enough to have a mentor that taught me that parenthood never ends. And so we often have brought into these ideas of Americanized rugged individualism, which is a total lie. And so a lot of times we have to unlearn and then relearn, or destroy and then rebuild. And the issue with that, though, is, and with mindset, is that there's a whole lot of history where Black folks were done wrong by institutions, and nobody ever wants to talk about that. A big reason why Black people don't like the stock market is because we could not invest in the stock market. If anybody saw The Banker, they had to use a white guy to buy a bank. There are stories. There's a wonderful book called Black Fortunes, and there was a company out of not Delaware, Darby, PA. It was a Black-owned bus company in Darby, PA, and some of the people make money in the stock market, but they had to have a white guy to do it. So, there is some reason and rationale why Black folks don't like some of these quote unquote institutionalized things. But just like Kirsten said, that we're here now. So we gotta unlearn and undo that, because things are totally different now. Is everything perfect? No. Have we made a lot of progress? Yes. Do we need to make a lot more progress? Absolutely. But we still need to learn what we can do, what's possible, and honestly, even realizing that we can never really truly fathom what's possible without actually starting to do the positive work. And so, I think there's a lot of schooling or education, whatever way you want to call it, that needs to happen, because we don't get that when we go to public school. We don't get it when we go to private school. We're constantly fed this narrative in our schools and through entertainment, and then reinforced in our communities that we are less than. So we do have to fight. We have to fight that at every turn, but it's possible. We can do it. Kirsten, you wanted to jump in?
No, I was saying, can you put the book in the chat for us?
Oh, Black Fortunes?
Black Fortunes.
Yeah. By Shamari. Black Fortunes by Shamari Wills.
Black Fortunes. And actually, again, I'm glad you added that, because I wasn't getting away from you. You actually did a segue into what I wanted to get into, in that, again, these suggestions and recommendations towards building generational wealth. Like, what is, there's a board game that I know you actually do online recently, to help teach a little bit about financial literacy. What are some things that you would recommend, and this is for all of y'all before we wrap up, what are some things you recommend moving forward that we can do in the Black community to, one, strengthen our position financially currently and our future position generationally, but two, make sure that we're not in this same situation again? So, for instance, the reality is a lot of conversation has been had about the amount of money that has been given out by the federal government, and the number of businesses who have a lot of assets, who financially are really stable, but were able to secure a lot of that money before the smaller mom and pop businesses or the smaller struggling Black businesses. What are some things that you recommend that we kind of do moving forward to kind of ensure our collective, our family's future, but also a collective future?
I want to talk about one thing real quick, Eric. As we talk about stimulus money, PPP money that's coming out, this is shown how unprepared our businesses are.
Absolutely.
This has shown how there's a lack of bookkeeping in our businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And I talk about it all the time. I've done videos where I literally said, get a bookkeeper. And now when we have an emergency and something like PPP or this comes up, many of our businesses are not prepared. So one thing I would say is get prepared now, right? If you don't know what that means, call me, text me, inbox me. I can be the resource for that. The other thing is, I think we have to be conscious about, going to your question, Eric, now, we have to be conscious about what we are taking in. What is our mental diet like? What are we reading? What are we listening to? They all help to shape mindset. If you're watching Scarface all day long, you're going to glamorize and glorify Cuban drug dealers a lot of times. Try to find other things to stimulate your mental diet. But again, Black Fortunes is a great book. It's a story about the first Blacks out of slavery in the United States to become millionaires. And it debunks a myth that Black rich people never think about or care about Black poor people, because at every step of the way, Black people that were in business were actually funding or fighting for civil rights or for getting out of Jim Crow or what may have you. Here's a guy I think everybody should know about. Brother's name is A.G. Gastons. A.G. Gastons. There's a couple books about him, but my favorite book about him is called Black Titan. And so A.G. Gastons was a guy from Alabama during Jim Crow, was able to become a millionaire several times over. And guess what? He started out by him and his mama selling food to the people he worked at the mines with, right? So you can start from humble beginnings and create something very, very big. But he also was a guy who bailed out Martin Luther King out of jail several times.
Mm-hmm.
So, I would start saying, look for people who are, not trying to talk that fast talk, not trying to get money out of you. And that's not to say that we shouldn't pay for what's valuable, but it's to say that real education, people that are really seeking to educate you or help educate you aren't looking to pimp you, if that makes sense.
There you go. Excellent. Who else wants to touch on that?
Go ahead, Cody.
Okay.
I'm not going to have anything to say, but go ahead.
Once everything opens back up with Reboot, like one workshop that we are working on is a workshop called 13th grade, and the 13th grade is pretty much all the things that you don't learn in high school, all the things you don't learn in college, like financial literacy, emotional intelligence, personal development, like how to like all the things that Camari was just touching on. Like we'll have like a financial literacy person come in with that. It'll be a continuous workshop. It won't just be one workshop, but it'll be like throughout the year, and it'll be community driven for people in the community, not just people that just want to get into construction or whatever. Anybody in the community that wants to come in and learn this stuff, because it's very important. And like mindset is everything. Like a lot of us are dealing with a lot of trauma. A lot of people in our community, all types of PTSD, through gun violence or whatever, and they don't know why they feel that way. So emotional intelligence is something that I've kind of been in heavy right now. Like I've been doing a lot of learning about emotional intelligence, and that's a starting point for a lot of people in our community that we need to tap into. To understand why, self-awareness, like why am I the way I am? Like, because how can you, think about becoming a millionaire when you can't get past, your own inner frustrations and stuff? So how to deal with that, personal development, that's with Kirsten. She has an awesome program called Vision with Intention. And it's life-changing. Like the guys that was in the construction in our class, they enjoyed that more than the construction, like just the personal development part of it.
It's just because I'm cute.
So, but 13th grade will be coming up. Kamari, I'll probably be reaching out to you at some point too.
I would love to do it. Drop a ad.
Some of your services. But
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Excellent. Kirsten, go ahead.
Wait a minute, Cody.
What?
Is there a book or anything you're reading about emotional intelligence?
Yeah, it's Emotional Intelligence 2.0 by Travis Bradbury. I'm sorry.
He took your book.
It's awesome, man. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, it's our book.
Yeah.
It's our book.
Yes.
But that book is life changing, man. Like I recommend it to everybody. Like to learn what emotional intelligence is. It's 4 domains: self-awareness, self-management, social relationships, and social. I'm drawing a blank, but social management, something like that. So, but once you tap into that stuff, man, it opens up so many different doors for you, like personally.
I think that relates a lot to, you know, what we've been talking about, you know, the trauma that is in the Black community specifically. You know, that's why I love talking to Camari and tapping into that, because I know that it's very easy for people to look at just somebody that does financial management, financial advice, things like that, but they don't really understand the amount of history and research that you've been doing, and that how that enriches the conversation and your understanding of how to impact Black lives, and to undo that narrative that we've been told for so long. How did we get from slavery to Reconstruction to Jim Crow to now? There's a whole lot of people that had a better understanding of financial literacy and what it takes to operate not only businesses but a whole community. So I just want to thank you for that. But we forgot. I didn't forget you, Cutie. You know, Kirsten, you had something you wanted to share.
Yeah. So I echo.
I threw her off when I said Cutie. That's what it was.
I'm used to that. Sorry. No, in all seriousness, no, I echo statements on both ends. Everything that was already said. I think one of the things that Camari alluded to, didn't really get a chance to expound on, but I feel is very, very important. When we talk about preparation, is getting a mentor or coach. We don't know it all in any area of your life, right? And so when you don't know, you ask someone who does. And I think that a lot of times people like, I can't afford a coach. I don't know where to get a mentor. One is, it goes back to that building relationship piece, right? So being willing to do things for people just because I know you have knowledge and I just want the knowledge that you have. So just being around you is enough for me. But also going to like what Cody says, your mentor could be a book, you know, the author of a book, somebody on YouTube. You know, we get really hype about these social media influencers, but what are they influencing you to do? And so, you know, you have to really think about those kind of things, right? So if you want to spend 3 hours on YouTube following somebody, great. If they are giving you something of value, right? And so I'm on YouTube, when I'm on YouTube, and I wasn't really a big YouTube person, I wasn't a podcast person, but now that's all I'm into, right? So I'm looking for the right people to mentor me in that process. And so there's so much free knowledge, you know, they used to say, you know, you don't want a Black person to know something, put it in the book. And now it's on video. So every book is on video. You don't even have an excuse to pour into yourself, right? So coach and mentor is really important. To Cody's point about emotional intelligence, personal development, these are things that, you know, it's just available to you. I'm going to promote me all day, right? So follow I'm Girl Genius, and I'll be rolling out my program over the next week or so. And all of my coaching starts with personal development, emotional intelligence, because to everybody's point, until we change what's up here, all those other things don't really happen, and they don't happen effectively. So find whatever education you can get it. I like Black Upstart, so they have put out a lot of content over this COVID period, this quarantine period, for free. They have done all of these Instagram lives with so many different people of wealth, and they have wealth of knowledge and so many opportunities just following them. And I think they've been doing it like nightly at 7 p.m.
Now, is Black Upstart only on Instagram, or they have a different platform?
So they only do it, as far as I know, they only have been doing these Instagram lives. Now, what you can do, what they had been doing, which is really smart, they've been repurposing it. So you can buy the replay, I think, for like $10. But if I can get $100,000 worth of knowledge for $10, I'm taking it all day. So if I miss the live, I'll invest $10, because again, changing your mindset. I'm not paying for knowledge. I'm investing in myself to get something I don't know. You know, I have $100,000 worth of student loan debt. I don't even know what I did in college. What I do remember had nothing to do with the classes I was taking. So I promise you, if I gotta spend $10 to get $100,000 worth of knowledge, that's more important and more valuable to me. The other thing that I would say, to Camari's point about preparation, so preparing, like, people just were not prepared for this pandemic at all. You know, just people weren't really in that space, in that mindset. And so for me, like, getting insurance, making sure your affairs are in order, you know, not waiting until you're sick to think about, well, how do I get these things in order? Because you don't know if that next day when you wake up, if you'll be able to do certain things, right? So taking this time now, looking at, you know, having conversations with your family around your expectations, your desires for your life, you know, where do you keep certain things so they're not searching, and, you know, for things like people cannot, this for me is so big. You know, I took care of my grandma during the last months of her life, and I'm grateful that we had a lot of things already in order, but people can't grieve until they have some type of closure. And so if I'm continuously dealing with your finances, dealing with, you know, trying to figure out where you put an insurance policy, like all of these different things, I don't even get to begin the real process of grieving the loss. Mm-hmm. So if it takes me 5 years to close your estate, then it took me 5 years to get to a point of closure that I can now begin
at a minimum
process. And that's not something I would wish on my family. You know, I want you to be able to move on with your life. And so this preparation, getting insurance is important. And if you need some info about that, I'm a girl genius. Hit me up.
You done just did the whole wrap up for us. I didn't even got to go back and ask you in terms of like what you would share. Yeah.
So
invest in
yourself. So that's my last thing, is really just invest in yourself. Really take the time, write down your goals. What do you want for your life? What do you want for your family? And then figure out how you go about getting that. So that's it.
I just want to jump into one more thing. Sure. Kirsten said, write down your goals. I know so many people that say they don't know what their goals are. And so I think one thing in terms of development that we all benefit from, sometimes to take for granted, is exposure. So if you don't have any goals, go expose yourself to some new things. Mm-hmm. I mean, Philly has so much stuff to offer. Yeah. It's crazy. Even I take it for granted. But go to a museum, go talk to somebody, talk to a stranger, but just intentionally expose yourself to different things.
Mm-hmm. I want to share something too. I mean, when you mentioned there are some people who don't have goals. I often direct people to, what are your pain points, right? What are the things in your life that are uncomfortable, right? It's very easy for us to get comfortable with uncomfortable life, right? And we're used to normal, chaos around us, or what they call dysfunction. But I often ask people, when you can't identify a goal, what is the most painful part of your life? Is it not having something? Is it the fact that you always have to do something that's difficult or uncomfortable that you don't want to do? You might be working in a job that you don't like. Okay, well, that means that one of your goals should be finding either a different employment or starting your own business. Mm-hmm. And so I think often, for folks that can't identify goals, people always find something to complain about, though.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. So this is my last thing, I promise.
No, it ain't.
You acting like me now.
Right, I know. I got Camari disease over there. I'm good with it though. So, you know, obviously I'm big on mindset, right? So changing your language, what I need people to stop doing is saying what they can't do. So when you say you can't afford something, like I can't afford to get insurance, the reality is you can't afford not to have insurance. You can't afford to invest in yourself. The reality is you can't afford not to do these things. Like, we have to really change what we are saying about ourselves, right? I cannot afford to leave my children with absolutely nothing. Like, I just can't afford to do that. That's not even fair to them. And so making sure that these things that I'm doing, for me, it's not about me. And, you know, and I share this when I do personal development. Life is so much bigger than you. I'm glad you think it is about you, but it's so much bigger than you. Like, you were created to impact and touch other people. And so when I'm not doing my job, when I'm not doing the research, when I'm not getting the education, when I'm not moving out on that business or that goal or that dream that I've had since I was a little girl genius, then the people that I was meant to touch and impact do not get to do what they're supposed to either. And so I stopped making it about myself, and I make it about those that I'm called to. You might not know who you're called to yet, but that's what you should be seeking. Like, who am I supposed to, I'm here for a reason. Like, who am I supposed to impact? Who am I supposed to touch?
Preach, girl, preach.
So no, but seriously, like,
Yes.
we live very selfish lives, right?
Find your purpose.
You got to find your purpose. Like, that needs to be the goal. What is my purpose here on this earth? And everybody's purpose is going to look different. And I think that sometimes when we think about, when we say things like find your purpose, people look for these very big dreams, right? It doesn't have to be. Your purpose is not going to look like mine, right? But it does not mean that it will not have the same impact on somebody. So I can have a conversation with somebody and they'll say, yo, that changed my life. But for me, it was just like, this is just what I do. Like, it's not even a big thing for me. We just had a conversation, but I don't know what that conversation is going to mean to somebody else. Like, somebody could say, well, Camari, you just do taxes. Like, there's nothing about I just do. Like, you know, the service he provides for somebody is life-changing. That sets somebody else up in a way that I couldn't do. So everything that we have, being able to find the value in self and know that I am worthy, right? And I do have something of value to offer this world. I just need to figure out what it is. So
I'm going to make sure that we invest in a box of microphones, so you could just drop them Johns just randomly. Cody, go ahead, jump in here before we get off on another tangent. Tell me one of the things, that, because we're getting kind of close on time, and I wanted to make sure that each of you had an opportunity to share your contact information, your resources, or anything that you wanted the public to know or to have access to in relation to you. So what are some things that you want to share with folks, whether it's about Reboot Construction or any other resources that you might have, or advice that you want to give folks that you feel like maybe there's something we didn't touch on that you want to talk about?
Well, like I said, we're in the primary stages of Reboot Construction Services, but the whole concept of Reboot Construction Services is like, I had a goal 10 years ago to just get in there, start flipping as many houses as I can or whatever. That goal changed because of purpose. Like, I wanted to reach back, and I wanted it to be bigger than just me, just like Kirsten put on, saying, you know, and introduce as many people as I can to the trade that helped change my life. You know, I have a backstory too, and construction is what helped get me away from that. But it's also going to be heavily community driven. Like a lot of things with the community. It's not just construction. It's, like I said, it's mindset shift. It's personal development. And construction is just part of it. You know what I mean? It's just one of the avenues. A resource that some people can maybe get, you know, help them get out of, whether they're in poverty or just need a better way to make an income. And along the way, we'll still have provide workshops and sessions where we go over certain things, because you might outgrow, at some point you might outgrow wanting to be a construction worker. You might want to be an owner. You might want to get into entrepreneurship. So all these resources will be available, exactly just like your story. But we want to help people along the way with their journey. And like I said, we're in the primary stages of it right now at Reboot Construction Services on Instagram. Probably be the best route to go. We're still building with our marketing and branding. But we have a lot of things on the horizon that's going to be coming with this.
DM Cody if you want more information. He's not gonna say that. DM Cody, DM at Reboot Construction Services if you want more information as he builds the list and they roll out for their next class. Please send him your information so you can stay in the loop of what they're doing. There you go.
Thank you.
Kamari, brother Kamari, any last minute tips or things you feel like we wanted to touch? There's so much that actually I wanted to touch on because, you know, the reality is I just got finished reading an article about, you know, I work in city government, and so I'm firsthand knowledge about the upcoming budget cuts that are going to happen with the city, the way it's going to really be impacted.
Upcoming, I mean, they just laid a whole bunch of people off yesterday. Budget cuts are here.
I'm just saying, like, it's an ongoing thing that we're going to be dealing with for a minute. So I wanted to get into what the future is going to be looking like and how we can best protect ourselves. But you guys gave a lot of great information. So Kamari, give us something to wrap up with. How can people contact you, and what are some last thoughts you want to share with us?
A couple things. Cody is absolutely right. We should be, and Kirsten, we should absolutely be in search of our passion. Let that fuel you. Figure that out. It might not be today. It might not be tomorrow. It might not even be this year. But that is the real journey that we all should be on. And ultimately, it's always about helping others. That doesn't mean that you can't eat a little steak and lobster every now and again. But, you know, that at the end of the day, you should be looking to impart value and wisdom on the people that's in your community and your surrounding area. And don't confuse popularity with impact. I think a lot of us we get that confused. And Eric, I say that because all of a sudden lately, I don't even finding out who I am. And say, Kamari, why are your numbers so low? I was like, I don't know. I mean, listen, I'm a human being, right? So we all would like higher numbers, but the numbers aren't really my thing. The thing.
What do you mean, like numbers in terms of views or likes and things like that? In terms
of views, likes, followers, whatever you want to call it, subscribers, things like that. That's never been my thing. Obviously, I'm not dumb. I recognize it can present greater so-called opportunities, but there's people around that have a million followers and can't make any money, right? So, are they really impactful? Right? Are they really doing anything? And so I would just say don't get that confused and always strive to better yourself. Education is a non-negotiable. Education is a non-negotiable. I messed it up. So using Kirsten's example, right? I cannot afford to be uneducated, whether it's formal or informal. Right? You can read, you can watch videos, you can talk to somebody, you can ask for a referral to somebody they think you should talk to. So, you know, to get the higher knowledge. So I'll say, you know, if anybody has any questions about money, taxes, investments, all the things that I love and promote, you could always text me. I'm a big texter, 484-278-1357. Again, 484-278-1357. If you call me, I might not answer because a lot of times when I pick up the phone, I get sidetracked and I lose time and then I got to figure out how to get back to what I was doing in the first place. So, you know, shoot me a text and I'll always be sure to get back to you.
All right, can I say my social media stuff?
We want you to do the whole closeout. You're gonna thank MBKCares. You're gonna do the whole thing. So the floor is yours.
All right, so let me tell you this long story. Say no. You can find me on I'm a Girl Genius, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm everywhere at I'm a Girl Genius. And so yeah, I've said everything as it relates to what I what I want to say. And anything that I've said that you want more information about, I'm definitely here to help. It was something that Camari said, but I can't remember because he said
Wasn't that important?
no. It was very important.
She was over here. She was over here praising and waving her hands and clapping.
Yes, because you
Yes.
give life over here.
Yeah, you was dropping gems.
But definitely education is a non-negotiable. It was something about that, but I don't remember what. So just take.
Can't afford to be uneducated.
You can't afford to be uneducated, but it was something that just triggered something for me. I don't know what, but definitely, take this time that you have, whether it's learning a trade or learning about how to manage your money, how to get prepared for the next time, because it might not be COVID, but it's always the next thing, right? That we need to be prepared for, whether it's getting insurance, planning out your life, whatever preparation looks like for you. And just make sure that in all of that, we are mentally taking care of ourselves, because that is our thing here at MBKCares, is really about how all of this stuff, when we don't do it right, how it impacts our mental health. And that's something that, we have to just acknowledge. It's the reality. Cody referenced the whole trauma piece, and he said something that about, people dealing with trauma. And I think part of our issue is that we don't deal with trauma. That is the problem. Like, we experience trauma, but we're not dealing with it, which is how we end up in these situations. And so acknowledging that we are impacted by trauma, acknowledging that we do have PTSD, these are very real things. And when you can acknowledge them, then I can move forward. So I can actually treat them. Now that I'm aware, I can treat them, right? And then do these next things. So I just want to make sure that we definitely put that out there. These things are stressors. When your money's not right, that's a stressor.
So you mentioned dealing with trauma. Can you elaborate a little bit? Can you elaborate a little bit about MBKCares and your role there, and how that ties into the work that we do around alleviating trauma and stress?
Just put on the spot. So, I work here at MBKCares. That is our focus, like, to help people through different avenues. So as we have become now the official nonprofit and we step into this role, we really expanded our mission to reach and teach around mental health awareness, suicide awareness, learning how to treat your trauma, offering, wellness Wednesdays, because we were doing monthly events, local monthly events. Obviously, we can't do those right now. So this was a way to still reach and expand our community, but still offer the information. And everything that we do is tied into your mental wellness and your physical wellness. All of these different things play a part. The founder, Isan Hines, he lost his brother to suicide. And these are traumatic events, right, that we experience. If people in my neighborhood died, I was a freshman in college before I lost somebody violently, right? But these students that I work with now, they're 7, 8, and they're losing people in their class, to suicide or violence. And so all of these things, these are very real things that our communities are impacted by, and being able to provide a safe space where we can acknowledge it and then teach how to deal with it. And so having different speakers to come on and to just present and to share and give us tips and tools on how do we manage our mental health is, the root of and foundation of MBKCares. I hope I did that well, Isan. And
you did good.
Thank you. I am on the board here at MBKCares as well. I'm along with Eric. And it's an exciting thing. It's a humbling thing. I'm honored. But
yeah, I'm glad. Thank you. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted you to mention that and tie that up as far as the end of the conversation was because even this conversation about finance, there were some questions early on about, well, how does it relate to our mission? How does it relate to the work we do? And I think you said that. Was that you? Okay. All right. Really about understanding, like you see how in-depth the conversation goes and how all of this is related to our well-being. And so I just want to thank all of you for being on here. Camari, I got a question. Am I correct? You have a show coming up this evening, or when do you record your?
Yeah, today is my Wealthy Wednesday, so this is the day I do Q&A. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. So I'm about to jump off with you, try to find some biddles real quick, and then jump back on the mic.
Financial Rebel? How do we?
Yes. On Facebook it's Camari Ellis the Financial Rebel, and on YouTube it's just Camari Ellis. You'll find me on YouTube at Camari Ellis.
Is this every week?
Almost every week. That's my goal. That's the goal.
Gotta have a goal.
You see what I did there, right?
Yes.
You see what I did there? Yes. I'm trying to get you out there, trying to get them numbers up, right?
And I'm launching Girl Genius podcast next week. I said that out loud, so now I have to do it.
Say what? You're launching Girl Genius podcast?
Right. So it's Girl Genius Unlocked. And so I'll be interviewing women who have unlocked their girl genius and giving tips and we'll be doing it twice a week, Mondays and Thursdays. So you can go to the Girl Genius Unlocked YouTube page.
How you going to do that and this show?
And I'll just say this. Try to circle back and send it to me, because I'll definitely promote that.
Got you.
All right.
Cody, you got anything you want to jump in here real quick and promote, or you got another show? You gonna be Dancing with the Stars? Like, what's going on? What you got?
No, like I said, we're still working. We still working. Like when I say primary, I mean primary. We like right in the middle. Like we was up to week 6 of 8 before all this stuff, before they shut everything down. So like we're still moving with that. But more information is to come. Right now, the best way to communicate is through Instagram, Reboot Construction Services, at Reboot Construction Services.
Excellent.
Oh, and if you want hair, I'm sorry. If you want hair, GG for Girl Genius, hairandlashes.com.
You got insurance? You got life insurance too? Term?
Yeah. Hit me up. GGhairandlashes.com. And if you want anything else that I mentioned, I got it. I promise.
You got 2 for 5. You got 2 for 5. Bet. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all. I appreciate this conversation. And definitely all the resources. Great information that you guys shared. I wish we could have stayed on longer, because again, there's so much more information that I think our community needs. And honestly, I feel like that we can do a part 2 to this sometime soon. So we'll definitely be hitting you guys up and inviting you out to come back on again with some more pointed questions and actually, dig a little bit deeper into this topic. So again,
planning.
What? Another business. Kirsten is like popping businesses every 10 minutes, right?
My mom is half Bayesian, so I got that Caribbean thing going on. I gotta have like 20 jobs.
Listen, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole. This has been Eric Marsh and MBKCares on Wellness Wednesday. Thank y'all for coming on. Thank y'all for watching. Appreciate y'all being here. All right. Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks.